Hello, second grade, and welcome to the beginning of Unit 5. We're going to be covering Unit 5, Lesson 1 today, and it's titled Meeting People's Needs. Now, as we go through this lesson, make sure you're answering your questions. Please have your book out while you listen to the lesson so you're able to fill in your answers as we go. Remember to pause the video so that you can write down your answer before we move on. Now, the first thing you need to do is to put your name and date at the top of this page and answer your essential question. How do people meet their needs? What do you think? So think of all the different things people do to get the things that they need. And write your answer on the line. Please use complete sentences and write neatly. Once you've completed that, we're going to look at the word hunt underneath where it says find and circle these words. You have the words community, consumer, consumer demand, and limited resource. So let's go ahead and listen to our reading.
Lesson 1. Meeting People's Needs. Essential question. How do people meet their needs? What do you think? Goods and services. It was moving day for Sam and Shelby's family. They were moving from Grand Rapids, Michigan to Tampa, Florida. Their new house was finally ready. Sam and Shelby were excited to be moving to their new home. Sam and Shelby's family will need many things in their new community. They will buy goods and services to meet their needs. Goods are things that people grow or make to sell. Food and clothing are goods. Services are jobs that are done to help others. Doctors, teachers, and builders provide services. Quick check. How are goods and services different? Quick check. Where will Sam and Shelby get the things they need?
All right, now that we've listened to the reading, let's stop and think about those quick check questions that we just heard. The first one said, how are goods and services different? Remember, goods are things that you can buy, and services are things that are done for you. So think about when you go to the store, you're buying groceries. You come home with something in your hand, right? Apples, oranges, fruit, other fruits and vegetables. Those are goods. Same thing with buying things like furniture or buying a video game or buying clothes. Those are all things that you can touch, you can pick up and feel. Services are things that are done for you. So think of like a teacher or think of a doctor, right? You go over there and they tell you how, or they teach you new things. That's the difference between goods and services. The second quick check question says, where will Sam and Shelby get the things that they need? We can see right on page 137 that they will need many things in their new community. So they're going to buy goods and services from places in their community. Now we have a bar graph on the right side. It says Sam and Shelby went shopping at the mall to buy some goods. They made a bar graph of what they bought. So let's take a look at this bar graph. The one I want you guys to notice all the different things. Now on the right side, we have the symbols, kind of like a legend or a key, like we have on a regular map, right? It tells you what those symbols mean. The picture of hat is about hats, the shirt is about shirts, the belt is about belts, and the short is about shorts. They're telling you what all those symbols mean. When we're looking at the graph, on the left side, those green numbers, it starts from 0 at the bottom and it counts up all the way to 10. Now, the height of the bar graph, the very top tells you how many of those things that they bought. So you want to figure out where that line is and line it up with that number. So if we follow the bar graph, that bar for hats, we follow it all the way up, we see that it goes to the line that connects to the number 9. So we know that they bought 9 hats. For the t-shirts, this yellow bar, we're gonna go up to the top and we'll follow it across and we'll see that they bought 7 t-shirts. Same for the belts, follow that orange bar all the way up. And then across, we see that they bought 8 belts. And the green bar for the shorts, we see that they bought 3 shorts. So you want to follow it, trace it along with your finger or with the edge of a book or a pencil to figure out the amount. So those numbers on the left side tell you how many of each they had. Now underneath it says a bar graph uses bars to display and compare information. How many more hats than pairs of shorts did Sam and Shelby buy? So here, this is a math problem. They're asking you to find the difference. So remember, when we find the difference, we're subtracting. So how many more hats than shorts? So we know the number of hats we said was 9, and the number of shorts was 3. So you're going to find the difference by subtracting your big number from your small number. So we're going to do 9 minus 3, and you're going to find your answer to find out how many more hats they bought than shorts. So you're going to go ahead, pause the video for a moment to put your answer down there. Make sure you circled these different words from the word hunt on this page. And then we're going to move on to the next page. Now on our next page, we're going to be reading about consumer demand. So let's go ahead and listen to our reading.
Consumer demand. The next day, Sam and Shelby went to their new doctor for a checkup. Then they went shopping for the things they needed. Sam, Shelby, and their parents are consumers. Consumers are people who buy goods and services. There are many consumers in a community. Consumer demand is the number of people who need goods and services. Consumers need things like food, healthcare, and housing. They will buy these goods and services from people and businesses in the community. Quick check. How do doctors meet consumers' needs? Quick check. How do grocery stores meet consumers' needs?
All right, let's think about those quick check questions. The first one says, how do doctors meet consumers' needs? This is also question number 1 on page 139. We know that doctors provide a service. So they're providing a service to people. That's how they meet people's needs. And the next question, how do grocery stores meet consumers' needs? We know grocery stores provide goods that people can buy that are food. Number 3 says, how do builders meet consumers' needs? They build structures so that people can have these businesses and they can sell their goods and services out of. Now, let's stop and think about what it says on page 138 under reading skills, under where it says use visuals. Study the picture above, underline the sentence that tells what the consumers in the picture are doing. So take a look at this first paragraph on page 138. What are they doing? And then for page 139, after you've done that, at the very top, it says circle the consumers in the picture. Draw a box around the people and places that supply goods or services. So the consumers are the people who are out there buying things. And the ones that are providing the goods and services are producing those things. So you want to put a box around the people who are selling those things, the ones that are providing the goods and services. And you want to circle the people who are buying those things, or the consumers. Now remember, a consumer is a buyer. It's someone who consumes or uses things up, right? So they need to buy those things so they can use them, whether it's clothing or food or different services. And again, consumer demand is how many people need those goods or services. So we're thinking about when you demand something, when we're talking about supply and demand, demand is how many people need it. The supply is how much we have. So consumer demand is how many consumers need those certain things. Once you've answered those questions, you have underlined, circled, and boxed the information that you needed to do. We're going to move on to the next section. And our next section talks about resources. Now here we're going to talk about natural resources, capital resources, and human resources. So the difference between these different things we're going to discuss right now. To make goods and provide services, people need 3 kinds of resources. Natural resources are materials that come directly from nature, so water, soil, wood from trees, coal that they dig in mines. Those are all natural resources. They're things that come from the earth. Farmers use natural resources to grow their goods or their crops, right? They use that soil. They use the water from the rain to grow the things that we eat. Capital resources are goods that are made by people and they're used to make other goods and services. So capital resources are like the tools you need to make something. So a factory that's built to make cars is a capital resource. A computer that's used by a company that helps people is a capital resource. Trucks that are used to transport goods, like think about trucks that are used to transport the fruits and vegetables from a farm to the stores. That's a capital resource because it's being used actively to move things from one place to another. So factories, computers, trucks, hammers, lawnmowers, all of these things are capital resources because they're used to do something else or to make something else. They're used to help provide a service, or they're used to create or make goods. Now, the last one we're going to talk about are human resources. Human resources are the people that work to make those goods. So they're like capital resources, but people. So a painter is a human resource because they're providing that service. They're painting your walls. A miner who digs up coal is a human resource. A builder who builds those buildings that we use as grocery stores or as schools or as any other kind of building. Those people who build those are human resources. Farmers are also human resources. Teachers, doctors. Human resources are important because every workplace needs workers there. It's not going to work by itself. So in the box below on page 141, draw a resource that is important to you. And then for the writing portion, it says what are natural, capital, and human resources. So I want you to write in your own words what each one of those are, and please give an example of each one. That way, when you go back to do your quiz, you have these little reminders that you made for yourself that'll help you to remember all of the material so that you can get all of the points. Last, we're going to talk about limited resources. Now, limited means there's not enough of something. So limited resources. Shelby and her mother went to the grocery store to buy apples and to make apple pie, but the bin for apples was almost empty. The few apples that were left also cost more money than the other fruits. When there is not enough of a good, we say that it is a limited resource. A limited resource is a good that is scarce or in short supply. So this is another word that I want you guys to remember, the word scarce. Scarce means there's not enough of something. It's very hard to find and there's very few of it. We call that a limited resource. Limited means you have a limit to it, right? There's not enough of it. They don't have a lot of it. So a limited resource is a resource or a thing that you're getting that there isn't very much of. People have to make a choice. People have to make choices because of limited resources. They may choose to pay more money for a limited resource, or they may shop somewhere else. They may decide to buy something different or nothing at all. So this is another thing that's going to show up on your quiz. Something important for you to pay attention to is that when there are limited resources, when there's only a little bit of something, a lot of times that something that there's very few of will end up costing a lot, right? The price goes up because there's not very much of it. So as a consumer, as someone who's buying these things, you have to decide, you have to stop and make a choice. Am I willing to pay more money for this thing? Maybe I'll get something else instead, or maybe I just won't buy it at all. So you have those different options. Now, in the reading skills section on the right side, it says ask and answer questions about key details. When you read, you should ask and answer questions about the text. Use the details from this story to answer the questions below. What can Shelby's mother choose to do since the apples are a limited resource? So what are her options? What can she choose to do? Remember, right on this same page on 143, it does list different things that someone can do when they run into this problem. So please answer the question in your own words. You can pause the video as you do the writing. Next, we're going to talk about moving from place to place. So the way people move from place to place is called transportation. Long ago, people usually walked to get goods that they needed. They also used horses and carts to travel longer distances. Today, people drive cars, trucks, and buses on the roads and over bridges. They ride trains over the train tracks. They fly across the sky in airplanes too. People changed their environment to make roads and railways for new transportation. Now remember, transportation is anything you use to get from one place to another. So the different kinds of transportation I apologize for the airplanes that keep flying overhead. Sorry, guys, I know that's really loud. The different kinds of transportation, like that airplane, have changed over the years. A long time ago, people would either walk or they would ride a horse to get places. They would take a cart with them if they were moving things or people. Then they started to build trains and train tracks, and all of these things changed the environment, right? When we had cars, we needed roads for those cars. So we had to change our environment to put in roads. In order to put in trains, we had to build those train tracks through our environment. So we had to change things. We had to clear the land in certain areas to make room for those things. And last, we're going to read about the section with the heading, Staying in Touch. In the past, communication took a long time. Communication is the way people share ideas, thoughts, or information. In the past, people wrote letters to stay in touch. These letters moved by horse. Today, letters travel fast on airplanes. Email on computers goes around the world in less than a minute. So when you communicate or you use different kinds of communication, it's just a fancy way of saying you're talking to other people. So you're talking to them by sharing information, by sharing ideas. So this could be done either by writing a letter and mailing it. It could be done by phone. It could be done by email. All of these different things are different forms of communication. And now, once we've gotten to the end of our lesson, we're going to answer our essential question. How do people meet their needs? So now, after you've read this information, we've gone over it together and you've gotten a good idea, go ahead and answer your question, then go back to the Show As You Go pages on page 128 and 129 and answer the section for lesson 1. Now that you're done with this, I want you to get started on your quiz. Please have your book open in front of you while you do your quiz, because this is an open book quiz. I want you to learn to use your resources, use the text in the book, and use your ability to find information. This is a thing I want you to practice, how to find information and use it to answer questions. That's it for today's lesson, or for this week's lesson. If you have any questions, definitely let me know. Otherwise, I hope you have an amazing day. Take care. Bye-bye.